What if I told you that two people, starting with the exact same salary and the exact same savings, could end up $500,000 apart by age 40, and neither of them made a mistake? This is a story about two identical starting lines, but two radically different philosophies on wealth. Let's break it down. Picture this. You are 23 years old. You've managed to stash away $11,200 in a high-yield savings account. This is the exact moment where the timeline splits into two distinct realities. Path A, the future homeowner. You are 23, pulling in $3,140 a month after taxes. You work as a project coordinator at a mid-sized healthcare firm. Your office features glass partitions and an espresso maker that predictably rattles every morning at exactly 8:04. Your boss, Carla, is strict but fair. Lately, you've been casually looking into real estate. You aren't obsessed, but you're informed. You understand what PMI is, and you know how to calculate a debt-to-income ratio. You've created a Google Sheet simply titled House Fund. Every single month, the day after you get paid, $800 is automatically siphoned into a high-yield savings account earning 4.7% APY. You don't even miss the money because you never see it. Right now, you rent a one-bedroom apartment for $1,180 a month. The walls are paper-thin, and you constantly battle the tenant in 4B for a parking spot. But it's fine. Temporary is the word you keep using. By the close of your first year, your house fund sits at $10,400 in contributions, plus interest, bringing the total to $10,617. Path B, the index investor. You are also 23, living in the exact same city, working a nearly identical job, taking home the exact same $3,140. Your apartment is slightly nicer, costing you $1,240 a month. Two of your roommates moved out half a year ago, and surprisingly, the landlord kept the rent the same. So, you stay. You have zero plans to buy a house. You ran the math. You spent hours deep diving into personal finance forums, analyzing the hidden costs of homeownership, mortgages, taxes, insurance, upkeep, and the massive opportunity cost of a down payment. You bookmarked the thread, read it 4 times, and finally made your choice. You open a Roth IRA and set up an automatic $500 monthly deposit. That first transfer feels entirely abstract. The $500 balance looks more like a traffic ticket penalty than wealth. That same night, you open a standard taxable brokerage account and commit another $300 a month to a total market index fund with a tiny 0.03% expense ratio. You automate both for the Wednesday after payday. By Thursday, they are out of your mind. At the end of year 1, your Roth holds $6,200, and your brokerage has $3,700. The stock market was a roller coaster that year, but honestly, you didn't even flinch. Building momentum, age 24 to 25. Path A, the homeowner. At 24, you secure a raise, an extra $4,800 a year. Because your lifestyle doesn't change, your $800 monthly savings bump up to $1,100. You start spending your Saturday afternoons at open houses. Not to buy yet, just to gather intel. At a colonial-style home on Heron Drive, you meet a realtor named Thomas. He hands you a neatly tabbed folder, guessing correctly that you're a first-timer. You read every single page in your parked car. You discover that closing costs generally eat up 2% to 5% of a home's purchase price. For a $295,000 house, that's an extra $5,900 to $14,750, a massive expense that wasn't in your Google sheet. You add a new column for closing costs and adjust your target. You learn about radon testing, appraisal gaps, and inspection contingencies, carefully filing away every new piece of knowledge. By the time you turn 25, your house fund has swelled to $38,400. But to put 20% down on a $300,000 home and avoid PMI, while covering closing costs, you'll need roughly $72,000 in liquid cash. You push your timeline back. Just one more year. Path B, the investor. You get the exact same $4,800 raise. You bump your taxable brokerage contributions to $500 a month, matching your $500 Roth IRA deposits. You are now investing a clean $1,000 every single month. You update your spreadsheet and move on with your life. 7 months into your second year of investing, the stock market tanks by 14%. Over just 3 weeks, your brokerage account bleeds from $18,400 down to $15,800. You remember the mantra you read when you first started, time in the market beats timing the market. It's a cliché, but it's a cliché because it works. You scrape together an extra $400 to invest that month. That is your only act of financial heroism. By age 25, your Roth IRA boasts $24,600 and your taxable account holds $18,900. Total invested, $43,500. The market bounced back, and then some. When a coworker shows you a $312,000 house listing with a fenced yard, you don't feel a pang of regret. Just mild curiosity. The checkpoint at age 25. Path A, $48,200 in the house fund. $3,100 in cash. $0 invested. Net worth, $51,300. Path B, $43,500 invested. $6,800 in cash. Net worth, $50,300. On a spreadsheet, these numbers look like twins. In reality, they are fundamentally different beasts. One is highly liquid, silently growing across thousands of companies globally. The other is locked away, patiently waiting for one massive transaction in a specific zip code. The Great Divergence, age 26. Path A, the homeowner. It's March, and you finally close on a house. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, 1,640 square feet, just a 20-minute drive from the city center. The ceiling fan in the guest room has a slight wobble that you notice on night 1, and then never notice again. Purchase price, $298,000. Down payment, $59,600. Closing costs, $10,400. Total cash drained at closing, $70,000. Your house fund is officially just a house. Phil, your mortgage guy, locks you into a 30-year fixed rate at 6.7%. Your principal and interest are $1,552. Escrowed property taxes are $380. Homeowner's insurance adds $130. Your new monthly payment is $2,062. Compared to your old $1,180 rent, the jump is $882. You walk through the empty rooms on your first night. The kitchen tile is dated, and the lawn needs serious work. You couldn't care less. Over the next 4 months, you spend $6,800 on a lawnmower, blinds, a bed frame, a dining set, a couch, and one painfully expensive trip to Home Depot for a plumbing issue the inspector warned you about. You also do things by the book. You set up a home maintenance reserve, aiming for 1% of the home's value annually, $2,980. That's $248 a month funneled into a new savings account. Your total monthly housing footprint is now $2,310. Because things are tight, you pause all other investing. You write down a plan to restart in 18 months once the dust settles. Path B, the investor. You don't buy anything. Your landlord tries to hike your rent to $1,320, but you negotiate it down to $1,280. Here is the math that changes everything. Path A just dropped $70,000 into a house. Your equivalent, the money you've been diligently investing, has grown to $50,700. It is working for you around the clock. You look at Path A's new monthly expense and see an $882 gap compared to your rent. You immediately allocate $700 of that gap into your investments. The remaining $182 covers the differences in your lifestyles, renter's insurance, a lack of home maintenance, and an $87 per month storage unit for gear that would normally go in a garage. Your monthly investment jumps from $1,000 to $1,700. This wasn't an accident. It was engineered. The grind, age 27 to 29. Path A, the homeowner. 8 months in, the water heater dies. A replacement costs $1,100. You pull it from your maintenance reserve without breaking a sweat. That's exactly why you built it. You refill the account over the next 3 months. At 28, you finally restart investing. It took 22 months instead of the planned 18, but you get there. You opt into your company's 401k, contributing exactly the 4% required to get the full employer match. $496 goes into your retirement monthly. Your home informally appraises at $317,000 based on recent neighborhood sales. Your mortgage balance is down to $238,400. You now have $78,600 in equity. By age 29, your 401k holds $22,400, your equity is $91,200, and your net worth sits at roughly $121,000. It's mostly locked in drywall and timber, but it's very real. Meanwhile, your renting friends are complaining about back-to-back rent hikes. Your mortgage payment hasn't moved a single cent. Path B, the investor. Your income scales up to $72,000 at age 27. You max out your Roth IRA, $7,000 per year. For the very first time. You keep pumping $700 a month plus your housing gap money into the brokerage. You are injecting roughly $22,400 into the markets annually. At 28, you hire a fee-only fiduciary financial planner named Dr. Anaya Solis. You pay her $250 for an hour of her time. She tells you something profound: historical returns on housing and equities aren't guarantees. I'm here to help you build resilience across multiple futures, because banking on certainty is a trap. You run the models. In most scenarios, your liquid growth outpaces a homeowner's equity. In one hyper-aggressive housing market scenario, you fall behind. You stay the course. By age 29, you have $176,000 completely invested. You still rent, and you feel zero urge to defend that choice. The checkpoint at age 29. Path A, net worth $121,000. Housing consumes 73% of take-home pay. Path B, net worth $183,000. Rent consumes 40% of take-home pay. The gap is $62,000, but the real story is in the structure. One person is heavily concentrated in a single, illiquid asset. The other is spread across thousands of businesses worldwide. They are entirely different forms of wealth. The acceleration, age 30 to 35. Path A, the homeowner. At 30, interest rates dip to 5.9%. You refinance. It costs you $4,200 in closing fees and takes 6 weeks, but it drops your principal and interest to $1,488. It'll take you 65 months to break even on the fees, but since you aren't leaving, the math is solid. You get promoted at 31, bumping your salary to $88,000. You push your 401k contribution up to 10%. At 33, you briefly flirt with a renovation. A contractor quotes you $74,000 for a primary suite addition. You politely pass. The house is perfectly fine as it is. Suddenly, your neighborhood gentrifies. A trendy coffee shop and an artisanal grocery store pop up nearby. Property values surge 18% in just over a year. Appraisals put your home at $381,000. Your equity skyrockets to $174,000. At 34, you finally open a taxable brokerage, throwing in $400 a month. It feels like you're late to the party, but you're not, just delayed. By 35, your net worth hits $305,000. The catch? Over 62% of your entire wealth is tied up in your house. You realize this, and you aren't entirely sure how you feel about it. Path B, the investor. You hit the exact same $88,000 salary. You instantly max your 401k at $23,000 a year, max the Roth at $7,000, and push $1,400 monthly into your brokerage. You are aggressively deploying $46,800 into the market every single year. At 31, you move to a new city for a massive $97,000 opportunity. Rent spikes to $1,620. You look into buying, but the price-to-rent ratio is an absurd 28. You happily sign another lease. At 32, your portfolio breaches the $300,000 mark while you are sitting in a boring Zoom meeting. You smile, close the tab, and get back to work. When a friend at a dinner party asks if you regret not buying property, you reply, "I haven't run out of time." And you mean it. By age 35, your total portfolio crosses $518,000. Add in cash savings, and your net worth is $546,000. The checkpoint at age 35. Path A, net worth $305,000. Advantage, a housing cost that hasn't increased in nearly a decade, offering immense, invisible financial protection against inflation. Path B, net worth $546,000. Advantage, a liquid portfolio that grows by over $36,000 a year from compounding alone, requiring zero physical labor. The culmination, age 36 to 40. Path A, the homeowner. At 37, you inherit $44,000 from a grandparent. Instead of remodeling the kitchen, you dump every single penny into index funds. By 38, making $96,000 a year, you are investing $1,800 a month outside of your 401k. At 39, your home is valued at $421,000. Your mortgage is down to $178,000. By age 40, your net worth stands at $556,000. Your housing cost is $1,810, including taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Meanwhile, friends renting similar homes are shelling out up to $2,600 a month. The scales have officially tipped. You are living dramatically below market rate. Every year, inflation crushes renters, but it makes your fixed mortgage feel cheaper and cheaper. In 18 years, the mortgage will vanish entirely, dropping your cost of living to a mere $710 a month for taxes and upkeep. That reality completely rewrites the rules of retirement. Path B, the investor. At 36, your portfolio crosses $600,000. Your rent at age 38 is now $1,780, having been hiked 5 times over 7 years. You looked at buying again, but the math still favored renting. By age 40, your investment accounts hold over $1,054,000. Your total net worth is roughly $1,088,000. You became a millionaire before your 40th birthday. There were no fireworks. The comma just showed up in your account on a random Monday before a 9 a.m. conference call. Your wealth now grows by over $73,000 a year purely on autopilot. That's an entire secondary salary generated entirely by compound interest. The final verdict, age 40 and beyond. If we project out to age 58, Path A will have a paid-off home, insanely low monthly overhead, and a net worth approaching $2.1 million. The portfolio will easily support a comfortable retirement, aided by the fact that their housing costs are practically non-existent. Path B will have a liquid portfolio nearing $3.9 million, allowing for massive annual withdrawals. However, their rent at age 58 is a complete unknown. It could be $2,800, or it could be $4,100. That variable is the price they pay for their staggering wealth. They do not converge in experience. Path A drove the same neighborhood streets for over a decade. They know the neighbor who brought over hot soup when their water heater exploded. That wobbly ceiling fan just became a quirky part of their life. Their wealth was forged in roots, walls, and memories. Path B lived in 4 different cities. Every lease they signed was a gateway to a new adventure. They possess extreme financial freedom but lack a definitive, permanent place to call home. Some call that liberation, others call it a warning. At age 23, both of them chose a system. One locked their wealth into a fixed address and time. The other poured their wealth into global markets and mobility. Both systems worked beautifully because both systems compounded. That was the only guarantee. That was the only truth.